Jamie Wildman Frizzell and Survival Steve, welcome back to, for you, Jamie, welcome back to the Downrange Podcast. And Steve, welcome to the Downrange Podcast for the first time. And we have Donnie, my business partner and Downrange owner and co-founder here. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you very much.
Welcome, guys.
So are you both in your respective home locations right now?
Yeah, so I'm in my workshop, as you can see. I'm in the middle of making a knife. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm here in Scotland.
Cool.
And I'm sitting at home.
Very nice.
I'm sitting at home in sunny England, just packing all my kit because I'm going away tomorrow to Austria to snowboard for 2 weeks. So can't complain.
Seen on social media the stuff you were kind of abusing some TikTokers, running them through the ringer with some road marching and eating some questionable things. Tell us about that. How was that? What was the result? Did anybody quit on you, or was everybody in it to win it?
That's how it all came about. We had some influencer from TikTok who reached out to me. And he's seen that I do loads of survival and I've got my own survival company. And he contacted me saying he wants to do some sort of challenge. Like what we have in the UK, we have a TV show called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And another show called SES Who Dares Wins. So he asked me, he wants to do some sort of challenge like that. So we came up with a name together called I'm a TikToker, Get Me Out of Here. So I was back and forth throwing ideas at him. Then I said to him, I've got a contact who is big on Discovery Channel as well, who will bring a lot more value to the competition. And that's when I reached out to Jamie, and he already sort of wrote a program out, and I had all my contacts, and logistically, I knew I could run the event. So then I reached out to Jamie, and then within a week, I got back from Canada, and Jamie was at my front door, knocking at my front door. Then from there, though, with Jamie, when Jamie turned up, we when I met these influencers up in an area where we do training. So my background, I'm full-time military. I've been serving out for 21 years in the commando forces with the British Green Berets. So I've been doing it now for 21 years. And I booked the areas where we do all our commando training over Dartmoor. So you're running up hills like that. And I booked the local woodlands, local farm where we normally do our survival training in the military. So I had all that logistically done. Then literally me and Jamie just bounced off each other and put them through the paces. But as soon as he turned up, I give the safety brief. Then they were on to Jamie.
Of course, we started with a tab or a yomp to where we were going to be camped for the next 3 days. And of course, it started off with a hill like that. And they done absolutely amazing. So I had them running up that hill with a fully kitted Bergen on, maybe weighed about 20 kg, maybe 15 kg, and they surprisingly did very well. There was a few of them that was nearly almost vomiting. Some of them were wanting to pass out, some of them were wanting to quit, but they didn't, and they kept on going. And of course, after that, we got to camp. Everything was set up because me and Steve got there nice and early in the morning to set up. And the challenge begun.
Did I see a fox in there?
We had an array of things. We had an array of things. So we had bugs. Then Jamie just started getting a bit wild, like how the wild man is. He just started saying, let's cut the fox up. Next minute, we've got tongue out. Jamie's chopped the head off. He's in another area, smashing the head open to get the brain out. And they're cutting the heart out of another fox. Jamie cut the testicles off. I cut the penis off. There was stuff literally going down range. With these influencers. I can tell you that now.
Not a good day to be a fox.
Oh, man. And do you know something? I was so surprised at how willing they were to eat some of that stuff. I mean, me and Steve have ate some of the strangest things that you can imagine. But even some of that stuff was turning my stomach, man. And they get stuck in. And they were eating it. They did absolutely amazing.
Was it as bad as that egg? Because I saw your egg challenge, the cracked egg challenge, Wildman. Yeah, that was like, that's nasty. Funny story about that. When we were in the military, you didn't make a ton of money in the military, so we would go buy eggs. and we would mix 24 egg whites a day with like a diet fuel and an orange and guzzle them. How we never got salmonella poisoning, I have no idea to this day.
Yeah, your immune system must be crazy.
Oh, back then, yeah. Today,
Yeah.
not so much. Getting old ain't for sissies.
Nobody puked on the fox parts, or did somebody?
The brain.
So we had one lad, one of the influencers was called Nick, and when he put the fox's tongue in his mouth, he was chewing it. It was so chewy for him. Then he was like that. It tastes of mushroom. I'm like, yeah, but it's not mushroom. That's a fox's tongue. Then you see him on the video. We videoed, and he chew a bit. Stop, look at you, and start to go, and start to just vomit, and all the slobber started coming out of his mouth. But you had to be there to see his reaction. It was hilarious.
Let's talk about Naked and Afraid real quick. Obviously, Jamie, you've been on three different episodes now, and I hear that you guys want to get on Last Man Standing together. Is that because one of you is better than the other, and you want to prove it?
Oh,
Hey, be careful. Wildman's got a knife in there, and Steve's a commando. So I'm curious to see this one.
Well, we all know that there's only one that's the best, but who it is, no one knows. That's why we need to get on Last One Standing.
I totally back what Jamie says there. I haven't done one of these challenges yet. I've done a challenge in the UK. I done a challenge called Naked and Alone, Racing to Get Home. So I done a naked survival challenge where we had to navigate from A to B. So I need to get put in the box, get thrown out there for 21 days and see how I cope before I look at doing a Last One Standing. But I'd love to do so. I'd like to do something though, like teaming up with Jamie and going up against the Americans. That's what I'd really like to do.
Like a tribes episode. My first challenge was a tribes episode. So if me and Steve could get partnered up against two other people from somewhere in the world, that would be the best challenge, I would say.
How are you with bugs, Steve? Because we know Jamie is very very allergic to bugs.
Yeah.
I have that visual of that picture of you, Wildman, your back just shredded, with all the bites and everything. And I mean, anybody that spent time, downrange or in the military or, in survival mode, when you get your skin, that's one of the most irritable issues, like when you're super uncomfortable with that. And that had to be brutal. Absolutely brutal.
That was brutal. And that was only 2 days. That was only 2 days. I had to go to hospital. There was all sorts of things happening. It took a while to clear up. It was maybe a good couple of months before they started to clear up. I've got some scars on my legs and my arms, but other than that, it's fine. But if you put me in that environment again, such as Guyana, the reaction is still there. I'm still allergic to bugs.
No. What about you, Steve?
I'll tell you what, I absolutely hate bugs. Like I said, I done that survival challenge in the United Kingdom. I was up in the Highlands and I done a 3-day challenge, and that was horrendous just by the bugs. I was eating from head to toe. I think it's our blood group. I think me and Jamie were both O blood groups, and I think insects just want to eat it. So my wife is not O, and she doesn't get one bite. So we go on holiday. She doesn't get beaten by a mosquito. I get hammered. I walk out the house and I'm getting bitten by insects.
Do you like the cold better than the heat?
No, I definitely prefer the heat. I don't like the cold. I deal with the cold. I mean, it's a lot easier to deal with the cold than it is the bugs. But I prefer the heat. The heat's nice.
Outside of Naked and Afraid, what do you have coming up next, and outside of skiing and snowboarding?
Yeah, so me and Jamie have got events going on in February. We're looking at partnering up there, taking kids through the school half terms, doing a kids event, which is a program on my website called The Lost Adventurer, where we put these kids through these team building activities. It's not really so much survival. I call it a survival challenge, what I do with these kids. But the actual name of the challenge is The Lost Adventurer. But we teach them how to make a shelter. We do some bush tucker trials. We make a fire, but then there's a lot of team building activities. We do a water challenge. We do a snake pit challenge. It's like fun team games, but I put a survival spin on it. So I'll say to the kids, right, one of you put a sandstone on the fire. The sandstone's blew up and it's blinded all you. So I'll put blindfolds on all the kids and I'll say, you went for a wee, so you never got blinded. Your goal is now is to communicate to all this team and get them out of this jungle area without standing on any snakes and lizards. And if they stand on snakes and lizards, they lose jungle dollars. And also snakes and lizards, there's loads of rubber toys, which I put out everywhere. Then they've got to do communication skills to get them out. We do another challenge with them, which is the water challenge. So we get them thinking. So I give them loads of bamboo. I give them elastic bands and loads of plastic guttering. And I give them a survival-based scenario. I say, we're in a village here. We need to get water from our village to their village over there. And if you get water there, you're going to win 100 jungle dollars. Then what they've got to do, they've got to build some sort of structure using all the bamboo, using the guttering, and that's the type of stuff we do with the kids. So we've got that coming up. So me and Jamie have got events back to back doing that. When we finish them kids events, we're going straight on the evening events where we're going to collaborate. That's when we're going to start pushing the adults through their comfort zone by preparing animals. You're going to be gutting them. You're going to be cooking them. You're going to be learning traps, doing underground ovens, cooking over a fire. So it's quite exciting, and I'm looking forward to learning off Jamie and what he can teach some of the clients.
How do you charge for that? Like with these guys, like on the adult side and the children's side, what's a normal price for that?
So for the kids events through Southwest Survival, it's all built through my website. You go on there, there's only so many spaces which I can take through my insurance because the park ranger always comes and checks. So I show Jamie my little risk assessment book I've got to have. So I can take up to 30 kids in that wood block and we charge £29.99. So it's about $35. For the adults, I can't remember how much we're charging on the website. I think it's £30. So maybe $38, but I can't remember off my head, but that's roughly the going price.
That's so cheap.
Amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing, and so needed. I mean, everybody's talking about, finding income skills, but survival skills, I think it gives you confidence, and working with children on that, getting away from phones, even though if they're filming it or what have you, because that's some really neat stuff, for them to survive and be able to jump out, and apply that and have the confidence to know that they can take care of themselves. I think that's really great what you guys are doing.
Yeah. On you go, Steve.
No, you go, Jamie. I thought you disappeared then. I thought you disappeared off the screen.
Yeah,
hey, you guys don't fight. No, I'm just messing.
So I always say, and so people come on these events, usually they want to learn about survival, or maybe they might have a little bit of a background in survival. But I suggest everyone get involved in this, because anything that you can learn in a survival environment, you can take back to your everyday life. Even if you work in an office and then spend the weekends inside all the time, there's things around the house, there's things at your work that you can benefit from by learning in a survival environment. And just to elaborate on that, a lot of people go out into these survival events and they're a bit unconfident, they're out of their comfort zone. But at the end of it, once they can see that they've achieved their goals, that they've done everything, done all the tasks set out to them, it gives them a bit of confidence. They can go back home, they can maybe start that project that they've been putting off, or they can maybe make that connection with someone that they've been putting off for a while. So it just adds some confidence to everyday life and not just a survival environment, So that's what I try and put out to everyone. It's not really about survival. It's about boosting confidence, and of course, the bonus is you'll know what to do when shit hits the fan.
Primal growth, right? It's all in us. We just need to tap into it. I mean, for sure, and be reminded of how awesome it is.
When are you going to come over to America and open a class?
We'll come over there, Eric. You've got the lands, me and Jamie will be there.
Do you guys know Ken Strom over near kind of neck of the woods? He's that Viking guy that jumps off of the cliffs with the axes. You see him all over Instagram.
No, I don't know him.
Okay.
I've never heard of him.
He says he's going to come on the podcast. He's just always out doing something, so it's been hard narrowing him down on a day. And I figured if you guys knew him, you could call him out a little bit.
No,
There's only
it's
one wild
he
man, and that's
from
Jamie the Wildman Frizzell.
He puts himself in like a human catapult and launches himself with like a God of War axe. You know,
Oh, I've
like
seen that. I've seen
yeah,
that. Yeah,
he's
I
that
think I have
video
seen
went
that.
viral.
I mean, he does some crazy stuff. In fact, I think he set the world
oh,
record
that high
here.
one, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the guys are mental.
I'm scared of heights. That's one thing I am
I'm with
scared
you
of.
on that one. Yeah, I'm not jumping from that, especially with an axe.
Nah.
You know, like that's pretty. I mean, pretty wild. I can't wait to talk to him to figure out. You know, I mean, what is going on up there? You know, to say, hey, you know, not only am I going to jump, I'm going to be practically naked in freezing weather with axes, and I'm going to jump. You know,
It would be
So
awesome to see all you guys do something together.
Yeah.
His name Ken Storns. We're calling you out to get on the show and to go try some survival. Yeah, it was with Wildman and
So
Survival
yeah,
Steve.
I mean this Ken Stones guy, he sounds like a bit of a mental nutcase. But I would love to see how he deals with being naked, alone in the jungle or in the African savannah. That'd be very, very interesting.
Cool.
cool shit, right?
Cool shit.
I always say you can take one thing, you know, what have you. What would you say your top 3 things?
Your knife is your life. That's my number one item, regardless. You can gut with it, you can make traps with it, you can whittle with it, you can dig with it, you can chop with it, you can saw with it. So your knife is your life. I'd always have some form of fire, something to start a fire. And then I think the third item's always hard, maybe a pot. Depending on what environment you're in as well. You gotta remember that if you're in a desert type environment, you're gonna want shelter to keep out the sun. So maybe a tarp. But I'll definitely always have a knife, some fire form of starting a fire. And depending on what type of environment it's in. If I'm a desert environment, I want to be taking a tarp. If I'm in a jungle type environment, I want to be taking a pot. If I'm in the Arctic, either a pot or a tarp, I don't know. I want to be out the snow, but I want to be able to boil water and hydrate and cook and keep warm as well. So it's quite hard, but definitely my top 2 items is in my knife, because my knife's my life, and a fire start, and then there's a mix between a pot, tarp, mosquito net.
Do you have a knife that you recommend that you like? I mean, I know Wildman's making one over there, right? Which is really cool. But I mean, do you have a brand or anything that you like to work with?
So I'm quite simple with my knives, to be honest. I've got my next door neighbour who's a knife maker to make a knife. I just like a big, strong, heavy knife, because you can axe with it, you can chop with it, you can shave with it. I don't want to be taking just a little Swiss Army knife that's going to snap at the joint. I like, in a survival situation, a good, decent, strong tool which I can dig with. At the bottom, it's got a hammer on it. On the handle, you want something so you can use as potentially for when you're doing your fire by friction, you've got a handle for your spindle, so you can put a groove in it. So your knife's got to have some good multi-uses on there as well. It's got to be strong and heavy, but it's not going to snap. I watched The Naked and Afraid. I remember watching EJ Snyder's first one, and he took a K-bar and it snapped. His K-bar snapped, and that's what the American forces use, and it snapped on a challenge.
To add to that, because I'm slightly different in terms of the K-bar. It's strange how a K-bar would snap, so it makes me think that maybe EJ stuck it in the fire at some point and maybe messed up the tampering process, and then when he dropped it, it just shattered. So that's probably what happened there, because K-bar is an amazing brand.
Yeah.
So first of all, I would be the same as Steve. I would take a fire starter and a knife. That's my 2 main priorities. But again, it depends where you are in the world. Of course, in a desert, I would like a tarp, same as Steve. But in the jungle, I would also like a tarp, because Steve will know as well, it rains every single day in the jungle.
That's water,
And if you're out there, you need to stay dry. So putting up a tarp, getting in under there for shelter is a great move. And you can also collect water with your tarp. And of course, there's loads of bamboo in the jungle, so you can make cups and containers out of that, so there's no issue there. Probably somewhere in maybe the Arctic Circle, that's when I would have a pot. You don't necessarily need a tarp in that kind of climate. So I would rather have a pot in sort of the Arctic Circle. Yeah, so it's a kind of fight between the pot and the tarpaulin. But of course, you need a knife and you need a fire starter. When it comes to knives, I've tried many different knives, especially on my survival challenges. And the first knife that I took to Africa was a Condor Village Parang. And that thing is heavy, really heavy. It's only about that long, but it's about that thick. It's about half-inch thick. So when I was wielding that around after, you know, a week of not eating much, it was quite hard to throw it around. You know, I could throw it around no problem here right now, but when when I've not ate properly in a week, it gets a bit difficult. So I recalibrated and I went into the jungle with a Tramontina machete, which is very, very thin, and it's very, very cheaply made. Like, you can pick them up for about $10 or something, maybe about £8, and that lasted me the whole challenge. And it's flexible as well, but it was really tough, so it didn't snap or break. Tramontina machetes are amazing and they're very, very lightweight, so I would probably go with that. This is the Condor Village Parang that I took to South Africa, and it is right now it feels quite nimble and quite light, but after a week it becomes very, very heavy. It's quite a chunky blade. As you can see how thick the tang is there. And this here is a Tramontina machete. This is the one I had in the jungle, and it's quite thin. They're very, very light. So this is probably my favourite blade to take on a survival challenge. And here it is, brand new.
Like the mental resilience, from a mind perspective, what you guys do to get past that for such an extended period of time.
Yeah, so if you want, I can touch on my experience, and then Steve can jump in because he's obviously had 20 years in military, so he'll have a lot to say in this kind of thing. But during survival challenges, it's quite difficult, and I can see why a lot of people tap out, because you've got the option of going back to camp and getting some nice food and nice drink and a decent sleep. So that option's always there, and it's a never-ending battle to stay in the game. And it's kind of hard to explain what keeps me staying in the game. You know, I guess it's just hardwired into everyone, and that's it really. You wake up every day and you think, I could go home right now, but let's not. Let's keep moving forward. What needs done? Firewood needs done. Water needs boiled. And it's just keeping your mind occupied with daily tasks. You know, every hour you need to fulfill it. You need to fill it up with a task in order to keep moving forward. Steve could probably point more on that.
So I think with my mindset, I've always been quite stubborn. I have like a mindset where I won't let nothing faze me. I'm quite straight down the line. Obviously, being in the military for 21 years, I'm used to being away. I'm used to being in arduous conditions with no phones, not getting to speak to your friends and family, being on operations in Afghanistan. So I've got a quite a stubborn mentality, and you always make humour in dark times. So when you're going through hard times, I'll just turn everything into a joke, and that is it really. That's how I've coped with things. All the stuff, my commando course, probably one of the hardest things I've done in my life, and I had 3 goals of it at the age of 17. I failed my first 2 times where people would have quit and went somewhere else. I came back another 2 times and passed it at the age of 17. Because I don't think nothing. I've got a mentality where nothing can break me. In my head, I think I'm the most fittest man in the world. I think David Goggins wouldn't last 5 minutes in my world. This how my mentality is. I don't feel like anyone can run faster than me. I don't think anyone can run as far as me. And that's how I've always been. Don't get me wrong, now I'm getting a bit older. So to my soldiers, they're starting to beat me on a bit of the physical activities. But I'm 38. I'm still running with the 20-year-old commandos who just passed commando course, and I'm still up there running the socks off them because I've got that mentality. But no one will ever beat me in anything, and that's what my mentality is like.
just to touch on what you were saying there, like what kind of methods we have to stay in the game almost. And on my first one in Africa, I made up a story that I believed, and it was a kind of last minute thing. I told myself that I was out on a safari, and it sounds absolutely mental, but it helped. I told myself I was out in a safari and I fell off the back of the truck, and I knew that truck was coming back round in 3 weeks' time, so I just had to stay put until that truck came back round, and that kept my head in the game because it's my first challenge. I really didn't know what to expect. When I went to the jungles, I didn't really have a mental story to think along to. It was really just about, this was the journey that I'm on now. I've already done a Naked and Afraid challenge, and I failed in Peru, so I'm back for redemption. A lot of people, if they failed in the jungle, they would never go back to the jungle. So I just kept telling myself that, and it kept me going. But there's also an element, as Steve says, there's also an element of stubbornness. It's a strange thing. I enjoy putting myself through those torturous times. It's strange.
Steve, you mentioned David Coggins, right? I think he said that you have 40% more in you than you have, even when you're at the very, very end. And so that makes sense, Wildman. It's when you tell yourself, or when you don't have an option to get out, that's when you tap into that extra 40%, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I had to do that 2 or 3 times during my jungle challenge.
Mm-hmm.
When you've got no other option, that's it. People rely on people need to learn how to overcome this mindset. Your body will always go into survival mode and tell you not to do it, and then you think, oh, I can't go on. Well, your body's got 40% more than what your mind thinks. Your mind's just trying to protect your body because it's in survival mode constantly. It's fight or flight. It wants to reserve its energy. It wants to keep you back. It wants to slow you down. It wants to keep you safe. So your mind always says, oh, I can't do it. And then people scrump it to the mind. People think, oh, I can't do this no more. They quit when they're wet and cold and hungry. But your body's got 40 to 60% more going in it. Bring it on. Just learn how to overcome that. When you have a little mental block, just tell yourself to get a fucking grip. Do some press up and get going.
How do you guys reward yourself? Like, what is it that you look forward to after, one of the shows, or, what is like your food of choice? What was it?
Fried chicken and a cold can of Coke.
Yeah.
It's funny that whenever I go away, I feel like I don't like drinking Coke or fizzy drinks. But when I do anything, I want a cold can of Coke and a peanut butter sandwich.
Before we run out of time, tell everybody how they can follow you, subscribe, all those good things.
Yeah, so I'm all over social media, every platform you can think of, at Wildman Frizzell. It'll be tagged below, and you can visit my website, www.wildmanfrizzell.com or .co.uk. And again, it'll be tagged below. I've got ebooks on there, I've got t-shirt merchandise, I've got vlogs and stuff, so you can go on, check it all out, and I'll pass you on to Steve.
And exactly the same for me. I am on all social media platforms. My handle is exactly the same, at survival_stay, STA. The link's going to be below. I've also got my own personal website, which is www.stephenkelly.uk. And that is it. Come and say hello and see what I'm up to.
Yeah, we're excited to see you guys on Naked and Afraid. We're going to put hashtag Naked and Afraid about 1 million times on the bottom of this. It'd be a travesty if you guys weren't on there. Well, thank you guys. Thank you both for being on the show. And we're looking forward to talking to you again after Naked and Afraid and the other upcoming things you have going on. From me and Donnie and Downrange, thank you both.
Thank you
it's super great meeting you guys. Awesome. Continued success. And we appreciate all you're doing out there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Keep going with your Downrange. Thank you very much.